All right, now let's bring in Donald Trump Jr., Executive Vice President of the Trump Organization. Don, really good having you on. A lot going on. You know, this whole idea, Hillary's back. She's back. And not only is she, you know, remember deplorables, basket of deplorables, which really wrecked her. She's back now, I don't know, pointing fingers at anyone that supports your father or anyone, basically anyone's conservative. What are your thoughts on Hillary 2.0?
I mean, she just can't help herself, right? It was the basket of deplorables. Before that, I guess it was Benghazi, where what difference does it make? You know, I don't know. Americans died. Some great heroes died. Some friends of mine fought over there in that and lost friends there. And, you know, they did nothing. She just can't help herself. But what should be really scary, I think, to everyone, Eric, is that she's saying the parts that the Democrats want to keep under wraps out loud. They want to send you for deprogramming. You know, sounds a little bit like re-education. I don't know in history where that's worked out well. You know, whether it was Mao, whether it was Pol Pot. I mean, these are dictatorial concepts. These come from totalitarian type governments that have killed millions and millions of people the world over. This is now mainstay language within the Democrat Party. If you vote for Democrats in 2024, you are literally voting to send your friends, maybe your conservative uncle, to the re-education camps in time. They're not pretending. If you don't follow their groupthink, doesn't have to be right or wrong. We've heard about, you know, their science, their biology, you know, whether it's changing on a daily basis with the trans movement, the lunacy of the left. If you don't go lockstep with every radical, insane, ridiculous idea that they put forward on a daily basis, you're going to re-education, and it's only a matter of time.
Do you think this is Hillary really feeling this, or is this, did she take one for the team, and the team being, I don't know, team liberal lunatics, and like just what you just said right there, it's what they're all thinking, but they can't say it, but she can say it because she's not running for anything.
No, I think she says it because she's got the worst personality of any person in the history of politics, right? That's why she was, you know, Trump had no chance of beating her in 2016. No, you could beat her because she's terrible at it. She doesn't understand people. She doesn't have any feelings. She's like a reptile. And she says those things. I don't have any doubt that Barack Obama, other leaders of the Democrat Party. I don't even know if Joe Biden's capable of thinking this way, but the people who giving him the direction, they all feel this way. This is mainstay thought. Think of the way that they censor us. Think of the things that, you know, they have banned you and your friends from. Think of the, you know, what goes on social media, what even goes on mainstream media, and all the ideas. Every conspiracy theorist who's been proven about 100% right 6 months later, after they've weaponized the truth, or after they've weaponized their lies that they've sold as truth, the truth comes out. It doesn't matter. They got what they want. On to the next thing. No consequences, no ramifications whatsoever. Rinse and repeat. This is what they do. And it's easy for them, Eric, because they have the help of big tech. They have the help of mainstream media, who are just regime propagandists. You see the exact same stuff coming out in the job numbers today. Everyone out there. It's so wonderful until you read the fine print. And you realize it's not. It's all a big lie.
Christian Amanpour, who's seen a lot of things, just let Hillary Clinton say they should reprogram one half of the country. It just blows my mind. The media just says, okay, whatever you guys want to say.
Because they're all on the same team. They're on the same team. Like, does anyone think that anyone in the mainstream media is anything other than a leftist activist? If you show even a modicum of being a moderate, if you show, hey, maybe I believe with the Republicans on this, you're out of a job. You'd never move anywhere. It's sort of like being in the upper echelons of the FBI or our military. If you don't go along with the trans agenda, the ever-changing, motives that are pushing the woke garbage in our military that's driving our recruitment numbers, if you don't go along with that 100%, you're going to be guarding, a pile of rubber tires in Guam for the rest of your career. That's what these people do. Yeah. They're doing it over and over again. So for Christiane Amanpour to sit there and listen and nod her head and not question it should surprise actually no one, because these are not journalists anymore. They're just fine with trampling your rights, trampling your freedoms if it's for their cause, because the ends justify their means in their minds. They're nothing more than regime propagandists.
Don, since the last time we saw you, this whole House Speaker hullabaloo, it's up in the air right now. I'd love to hear what you think about Matt Gaetz pulling the MTV, and then also obviously your father has said he's throwing his support behind Jim Jordan, but your dad's still in that mix. Give us a sense of what you're feeling about that. First, Gaetz is pulling the plug on McCarthy, and then who should follow?
Listen, there's it gets a lot. I'd love to see my father as Speaker of the House, if only just to watch the liberal heads explode. And I think it would get things done. I think there are realities in D.C. that you got to do, but people expect more. When I watch Mitch McConnell talk about how funding Ukraine indefinitely, it's the #1 concern of all Republicans anywhere. And I go, that's strange. I speak to hundreds, if not thousands, of Republicans a week. I literally ask it in my questions when I'm speaking in front of large groups. Hey, is Ukraine a top issue for you? Is it top 3? Is it top 10? Of thousands of people, I had one person raise his hand saying it was a top 10 issue for him. It's not a top, it's a top 1 issue for people in the swamp who want a board seat at Raytheon, who are going to mortgage our children's futures and our families' well-being to the hilt to give it to corrupt oligarchs over there and fund the war machine so that they can have board seats and a retirement package. That doesn't work for the American people. So you know who I'm for? I'm for whoever will stop the endless spending, who will stop the war. Because once the money gets cut off, all of a sudden people will come to the table. As long as it's flowing freely, as long as we're in a de facto war with Russia, keeping them maybe a little bit at bay, the death and destruction will continue, because the power makers, they're not the ones getting killed. It's the regular people, and we want the death to stop.
So would Trump do it? I mean, I think a lot of people, I'll tell you what, Jim Jordan, great guy, love him. I would, of Jordan or Scalise, love Scalise too, but Jim Jordan's the guy. I'm not sure he gets to 217. There are people who just, the GOP. Yeah. But I know one guy that could get to 217, and if anyone voted against him, that would be their end of their GOP political career. Why not do it for a while and bring unity back to the GOP?
I think it'd be interesting. I think, you have someone that would get things done that doesn't have to go by the rules of decorum. The rules of decorum seem to only apply to Republicans because the Democrats do whatever they want. They don't follow those same rules. So it would be nice to see someone who could actually go into Congress and be somewhat of a wrecking ball. I mean, I love Jim Jordan. I think he'd be great in that role. You're right, though. I do see a very difficult path, probably for anyone, to get to 218. That's the reality of the situation, right? There are people that are in, blue state, that it helps them to go against someone like a Jim Jordan or even a Scalise, to go with some sort of moderate who's never going to get a single vote from the Freedom Caucus. So it's a very difficult situation, and it's going to be, unfortunately, I hope we don't end up with someone who's a do-nothing, because that's the one person that everyone doesn't dislike, but isn't going to actually effectuate change in Congress.
Is it out of the question that, we saw this happen in January? Is it out of the question? A few rounds go, Jordan's up there for a while, Scalise, Hearn, and then you can't get, I believe it's it's 217, 218, but you can't get to the number.
I don't know that anything's ever out of the question. I know my father's endorsed Jim Jordan. That's, that's where I'm at. But yeah, listen, I don't think it's a simple path for anyone. And that's sometimes the thing, everyone has their ideal. This is who I want, but there's realities of Washington, D.C. that unfortunately we have to deal with. So, yeah, I don't see it being a quick thing unless someone pulls a miracle. Final
thought, if he's seated behind Biden for a State of the Union, will he wear the MAGA cap or not as a speaker?
I mean, obviously, right? They'd probably throw him in jail for that. Nancy Pelosi can rip up the State of the Union, but it'll be something else they get to charge him with because they can.
It's something like that. Don Jr., thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks a lot, Eric. Have a good one.